I think is easily done in so many small ways, but it's educating some of the hotels, particularly if they don't have a huge corporation behind them, in actually how to do it, because sometimes they might not know. Their local staff have been living the same life they have probably for years, and to them getting rid of plastic is a burden. But it's making people aware and understand actually how many little things can do to help.
Hi everyone, welcome to Now Boarding, a new travel podcast by me, Payal Nair.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Now Boarding, a travel podcast. Today my guest is Mary Anne Denison Pender. Mary Anne is the managing director of Mahout UK, and she's also the chairman of Mahout Lifestyle. She has been tirelessly and passionately, I would say, been connected with India for years and years and years, and we're going to have her talk us through it and how it all came about, and her journey, as well as there's lots to talk. So thank you so much, Mary Anne, for being a part of my show. And there's so many exciting things to hear from you, but maybe we can sort of start with how did Mahout really come about, and what kind of connections do you have with India?
Well, it's a very long story. My connections with India go back to really the 1980s, when I first travelled there on my gap year. And I was sort of meant to go around the world, but didn't, because I fell in love with India. And in many ways, I sort of stayed on, in the old-fashioned sense of the word. I fell in love with everything about it: the people, the culture, their warmth, their spirituality, food, whatever. I felt very embraced by it. And so, having sort of decided to make India my sort of life passion, I started working with a company called Cox & Kings, and was with them for about 9 years. Then I left because I wanted to do something smaller, more authentic. C&K became a little bit big, a little bit more geared around, well, dare I say it, shopping commissions and big group tours, and it was going in a direction I didn't agree with. So I started a company called Western and Oriental, which specialised predominantly in India, certainly at the outset, and then became a global business so that we had year-round business. And then September 11th didn't help life in travel. Yeah. And I felt also by then I'd sort of done my time in just sort of bog standard arranging holidays. I wanted to do more for the people on the ground in India. And all these small hotels were just beginning to get going. The Heritage Hotels Association was getting going with Babji, doing amazing things. I was on the UK side of that. And I felt all these beautiful small hotels just really had no face and no voice in the UK because they couldn't afford it. The internet wasn't as big then, social media didn't exist, and I felt they needed a voice overseas. So I took the view of, if I could get sort of enough of them together, charging a small fee, it was viable for me to represent them and affordable for them. It gives them instant credence in being able to say we have an office overseas. It gave people access to someone in the UK rather than having to speak to India all the time and often not get through. So Mahout was born like that, really. And several hotels immediately said, "Oh, will you speak for us? Will you speak for us?" And slowly, we created a little brand of beautiful, special, lovely hotels around India, trying to tell the world about them, when actually they weren't easy to find online or through tour operators. I spent a lot of time going around the travel trade and the press, training people on how to sell these hotels to their clients, what sort of client would like these small places, and actually just telling people how good they were. Because I think for many years, India was seen as sort of a backpacker's place. And if there was a hotel, people would say, does it have an attached bathroom? I mean, there was so much ignorance about the quality of hotels that was coming out. And so, yes, I started Mahout in 2001. And it's been chugging along ever since, really.
Wow. I think it's doing phenomenal. It's not just chugging along. I think you're doing phenomenal work. I mean, that's the feedback that I've been getting. So, Mary Anne, I just wanted to understand from you, what does ecotourism mean to you in relation to India? Do you think that India has been able to work positively in that direction, in terms of both cultural, so socio-economic, and sustainability?
Yes, I do. I think it probably started on its journey towards ecotourism a little later than others. I mean, to me, ecotourism, it is such a broad spectrum, really. It's, in my view, it involves responsible travel to natural areas, conserving and protecting the environment, improving the well-being of local people, habitats, and then actually understanding it and accepting it when you get there. It's respecting local cultures, and it's all about preservation, be it the habitat or their cultures. And in that respect, India has so much of both that I think it has a lot to do, and a lot it can do with ecotourism. I think it started incredibly well years ago with, just harvesting rainwater, looking after their grey water, in terms of involving local people from the community in any tourism projects they were doing. In the hotels, for example, so many of them have employed local people, local staff, educated them. And I think that's a part of ecotourism that is as important as actually protecting the environment as well. I think from a hotel point of view, they need to be helped to see that ecotourism needn't be expensive. It needn't involve huge change of practice or management. It's basically being aware. It's saving and preserving what it can. I think before COVID hit, the Indian hotels were doing unbelievably well in abolishing plastic in their hotels. Many hotels had completely got rid of plastic. Some, be it plastic bottles, it was being given in glass bottles. Some hotels that I look after, as soon as you walked in with a plastic bag, the staff took it off you and gave them a cloth bag. They had really gone down so many routes to help in that respect. And getting rid of plastic is one of the big parts of not ecotourism, but preservation and sustainability.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And sustainability, I think, is easily done in so many small ways, but it's educating some of the hotels, particularly if they don't have a huge corporation behind them, in actually how to do it, because sometimes they might not know. Their local staff have been living the same life they have probably for years, and to them getting rid of plastic is a burden. But it's making people aware and understand actually how many little things can do to help.
When you have groups traveling from the UK, going to one of the properties that you've collaborated with, do you need to educate them as to how not to kind of hurt sentiments of the people? Is that something that you've had to do over the years?
It's so important. I was going to say that. I mean, firstly, it's helping the hotels understand a way forward with sustainability and awareness, but also it's people visiting them. They have spent years and time and love and money in putting their property back to something that is now livable in again, that was a ruin, or they've built new, something special and beautiful. And so they've done their bit in a way, but actually getting the clients who go there to understand what they're going to make sure their expectations are correct. And I see my role as being hugely important in educating, the tour operators in England who are sending clients, to make sure they are telling their clients what they're going to get. tell the clients to read about India, read about the village life, read about the environment that's in India, and actually go there with more understanding and acceptance so that they can understand the local ways, traditions, just how Indians greet each other. Little simple things. It's understanding the culture before they go there so that they feel more comfortable as well, and that they're not then upsetting the people they're meeting on the ground by not respecting them the way they should. And I think education prior to travel is one of the most important things, particularly to the smaller properties, particularly to the wilderness areas. I think it's vitally important, and that's half the problem we face with tourism here, is that people just buy off the page, sometimes don't even talk to a consultant about where they're going, what they're doing. They've looked at it on some booking.com site and think, oh, nice picture, I'll go there. And then they don't understand where they're going. And also so many of these hotel owners have been, they've got very philanthropic exercises going on within their hotels, where clients, if they know in advance that they can give and contribute to the local school through staying at the hotel and how it benefits them, but then actually go and see that school and see that local project. That's where, to me, the sustainability and the eco, if you want to call it, comes in, because it's showing a client actually another way of life, not just looking out, it's looking at it, it's immersing yourself in it.
Yeah. You are also, you also founded something called Mahout Lifestyle, right? How did that come about? Is that again linked to the cultural aspect of these areas that you are involved in, or the properties?
To a great degree, yes. Actually, I started it with my husband, who actually really runs it. And when we first met 15 years ago, I said to him, you have to come to India, because if you don't like India, we don't have a future. So I took him around India. He'd never been before, and I thought, and he's an outdoors sort of guy, so I took him on a trek up to Nanda Devi base camp up at the top, up the Johar Valley, because I thought that would be a perfect intro for him, and he loved it. And we just walked for 2 weeks up through the mountains. And then I gave him the culture shop and took him down to Agra to see the other side of it. Right. And he did slightly freak out by the crowds, the tunnels as you walk into the Taj. But he fell in love with it, and then realized, actually, because I was so involved with India, it is so much part of my life and our yearly calendar. He said, I'm beginning to feel rather like the Prince of Wales. I need something to do, or the Duke of Edinburgh. I'm fed up with walking behind you carrying your bags. I need to do something. And he fell in love. He's an interior designer, and he fell in love with all the dowries that they produce out there. And he was rather appalled by some of the racketeers that go on in some of the cities. And so he wanted to find some amazing weavers in places that needed help, that were, practicing well, and, using grown people who are well paid, and who would actually do his designs, because he designs all his own. And so that's how really Mahout Lifestyle came about. And then more people started saying, can we bring this? Can you bring that? So it was a sort of offshoot, really, born of necessity for something for him to do, but also, again, helping local crafts that, who knows, may die out. More and more is becoming machine made and printed, not woven, and he was appalled by that. So yeah, that was a sort of part of the reason of Lifestyle, was to support local crafts, actually, and the sustainability of them.
So how do you identify the hotels that you want to collaborate with? Is there a certain criteria that you have kind of worked on, or how do you actually, because there's such amazing, and you yourself have seen that, amazing, very boutique-like properties in the rural part of India as well. So how do you identify the properties that you do want to collaborate with?
Well, I tend to sort of try and have a finite amount, because you can't just take on too many, or you can't do the job for them that you want to do. And because Mahout sort of morphed into what it has become slowly over time, the first few properties that joined Mahout, I'd say one of the main criteria is actually to know, respect, and trust the owners. So a lot of the early ones, all the owners were just dear friends of mine, like the Rohets and the Deogars and the Samods and the, Nimaj family. And I thought, I love you guys, I can help you, and I think you're doing amazing things. Secondly, yes, I would tend to work with properties that are very small, privately owned, have some historic or restoration value, or extraordinary locations. They're of a type in as much as they're small, they have to be rather beautiful, well managed, well maintained, all with some kind of good eco-environmental policy in place, which is why on my website I insist they all have something about what they're doing, because it's become important to people now visiting these hotels. And then thereafter, I suppose, it sounds rather sort of arrogant, but a lot of hotels ask to join me. If I don't know them and haven't seen them, I would instantly say no, but I would then research them, make a point of going to see them, and see if they would fit with Mahout. We are, although a lot of them would see themselves as competitors, we are actually one big family, because we're trying to sell a concept that you don't need to stay in a chain hotel to have a comfortable experience in India.
So typically, how long would a trip to India be?
The norm is about 2 weeks. I try to get people to slow down. There's so many people who've traveled to India over so many years now that there's so much chat, and I call it the dinner party chat. And I'll have someone ring me, I'll listen to them, try and put them in the right place, rather than I don't know. I try and get it right for them. Yeah. But I would say the average is about 2 weeks.
Yeah, I guess it's also dependent on what the person is really looking for.
A lot of people, tend to. I don't really work with many groups. It's all bespoke what I do, tailor-made. So it's all tailored to them and what they want and their budget is. But I think a lot of people, try and do too much. They'll have dinner with someone and they'll be told, you must go here, go there, go there. And invariably we'll come back to the original plan, having then spoken to so many people and changed it. But my sort of mantra is do less and spend longer. Yeah. When you say to someone going from North India to South India is a 4-hour flight, they don't really get it. Trying to do Himalayas and Sri Lanka and Kerala is like going from sort of Finland to Sicily in one trip. You don't get under the skin of it. They don't understand it's different languages, different food, different coloured people, different height people, different alphabets. And to try and pack all that into 2 weeks is too much. So I would always say, spend 2 weeks in just one state and move slower. Try and do 3 nights so you don't have to be up and about every day, because otherwise you come back exhausted, having been on an endurance test, not a holiday. Yeah. And so in 2 weeks, maybe max 5 places, have 3-4 nights somewhere, actually enjoy the place.
Yeah.
Go for a walk.
Absorb it. Yeah. So what would you, for tour operators who, I know the pandemic has kind of taken that, several steps back, but eventually when things start to open up, and for some tour operators who are just starting out, what would you, with your vast experience and connection with India, what kind of advice would you have?
I would say, listen to your client. Don't just work with hotels that give you the highest commission and you can make the most money. Ultimately, you want that client to come back to you. So listen to them, listen to what they really want and what sort of hotel they want. India now has such diversity in type of hotel, price of hotel, location of hotel. To find out what the client wants, and then teach them about it. Actually make them do some research before. And I would also encourage them to, especially post-pandemic, fly less, move less, take shorter journeys, spend more time really immersing yourself in the local environment of where you are. I think post-pandemic we'll see, as people have become more active during the pandemic, I think we'll see many more outdoor activities going on. We'll see more, possibly walking trips in the Himalayas or riding safaris. I think those little hotels in the countryside will benefit more because people will feel safer out of the cities. The hotels are small enough they can really ensure their hygiene policies are in place and adhered to, and it'll be easier for them. I think we'll see more multi-generational travel, families getting together who have not seen each other for years, even groups of friends. Again, the joy of some of these small hotels, you can take over the whole of it and just have 7 couples traveling together, having the time of their lives, knowing that hotel is your home.
Yeah.
I think we'll see slower travel, more immersive travel, more educated and informed travel. I think there will be more philanthropy. I think people will want to give back more. I think they will be more aware when they're booking a hotel of what the environmental policy is of that hotel. And now I see a lot of changes, all for the good, because long term, if we can sustain the habitat and culture and hotels and everything that goes into tourism, people will visit for longer and it'll benefit the economy.
On that note, thank you so very much. It's been very interesting listening to you. And like I mentioned earlier, your passion for India, Mary Anne, is just so palpable, even though, it's being communicated through a screen, but it's in your voice. And you just mentioned to me before the interview actually started that you are flying off to India in the next in the next 6 weeks or something.
Yeah.
So that must be really, really exciting for you. So have a great trip, have a wonderful new year, and I hope to speak to you again soon.
I can't wait, and I can't wait to get back to the motherland and tell the world how wonderful it is and get traveling. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you, Ben. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Now Boarding, a travel podcast. Check out other episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. And of course, don't forget to share your thoughts with us. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes only on Now Boarding, a travel podcast.